Today we're getting into the top 10 tips of how to sustain, do, execute, maintain Tracy Anderson Method. Now, whether you're in the Metamorphosis camp or the online studio camp, this video is designed to bring value to you. Now, it's a guarantee I have not covered all the tips because 10 doesn't even scratch the surface. If you have tips of your own, would really appreciate if you commented below. Those are so helpful. I have learned so much from you all. Really appreciate it. And if you're new to Tracy Anderson, you're new to these videos, you're new to me, I'd also recommend you look at the comments because there's such a wealth of information there. And should also mention I create videos each week, and really it's just evolved to be focused around Tracy Anderson. For years and years and years and years and years, I've been talking about how I wanted to start a YouTube channel. It's been a lifelong dream of mine. And what held me back from actually creating a channel is I didn't want to be that person. You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that person? Until I realized I don't have to be that person. And each week I'd find myself finding new things that were really helping me create a better life for myself. And I wanted to document that and share it as a kind of art therapy, if you will. My channel is now totally focused on Tracy Anderson. So if you are in the Tracy Anderson journey, would highly recommend that you subscribe, that you get involved in these conversations that are in the comments. It's so very helpful for us all because I can tell you I've learned a ton from you. All right, tip number 1, have a strong why. It can be said that this is a great tip for any new change you have, any new challenge. But in particular with Tracy Anderson, it's so important to know why you're committing to it because it is so unique. It's so challenging, and it also can be quite isolating. Unless you know many people in your life who are devoted to Tracy Anderson, you may struggle. Just like me, I really am the only one I know following Tracy Anderson. And I'm not going to push it on anybody because I know that health, fitness, diet, it's everybody's own journey. And I'm starting to group that with the same categories as religion and politics because it's controversial anytime you bring up something that will conflict with somebody's views. So it can be kind of isolating, and you've got to be really clear on why you are choosing Tracy Anderson. Here's what I mean by that. If you haven't come across it before, you probably will, and that there will be times that you doubt the Tracy Anderson method. There may be times that you wonder, is it worth the time commitment? Am I really getting the results I want to? And as these things come up, you've got to go back to your why. And more recently, as I was researching for this video, I came across some Tracy Anderson hater blogs. So there's these blog posts that people are just really hating on Tracy and just saying how ridiculous it is. And I had some instances where I was thinking, oh my gosh, what if this is all true? And I had to go back to why I've chosen Tracy Anderson. What are my whys, you may ask? Well, for me, I spent years and years being at battle with my body, having very intense workouts, intense diets, and it consistently backfired. Sure, for some people it works for them. It does not work for me. Again, it's kind of like religion and politics. You do you, I'll do me. And what I love about Tracy Anderson is that my joints do not hurt anymore. There's also so many times during the workout where I feel good. And I feel like I'm honoring my body and respecting my body instead of just trying to give it a beating to beat myself in tip-top shape. I feel really good about it. So my big why is that I feel good. Not to mention that on most days, I like the way I feel. I say most days because my body fluctuates. There's some days I bloat. There's some days I just feel gross. There's some days I don't eat well, and that's a result of that. I have to have a stronger why than loving the way my body looks. And my why is that I feel great. And I also am convinced that this is sustainable. Those intense workouts, those intense diets were not sustainable and actually were extremely harmful. This is something I'm committed to, I'm devoted to for years to come, and it only helps that I'm creating content around it every week. So you've got to have your why. A kind of sub-bullet to that tip of knowing your why is identifying what can get in your way. What can make you second guess your why? And for me lately, because it seems to change as far as what can get in the way, it's the time commitment. Sometimes I wonder, are there better options where I can get the results I'm looking for? I can feel great without an hour to an hour and a half. I mean, in all reality, yes, an hour and a half seems like a lot, but I can tell you how easy it is for me to waste an hour and a half watching TV, scrolling on my phone, doing things that are not at all productive. So being aware of the things that may get in your way, maybe it's family conflicts, maybe it's self-doubt. There's all sorts of things that can get in the way. But by identifying it, you can see how you can get ahead when you're not in those vulnerable moments of doubting yourself or forgetting what your why is. Tip number 2, be patient. Tracy Anderson Method is a marathon. It is not a sprint. And with most of the interviews I come across that I watch of Tracy Anderson, she talks about how quick fixes are not the answer. That if you want to really have the physique you're looking for, it's about really showing up on most days. So be patient with the results, especially because if you are on the Tracy Anderson journey, you may find that there's times where your body is probably changing in ways that maybe aren't ideal. For instance, for me, I've usually had a nice volumized butt, and lately it seems like it's kind of lost that volume, which I'm not a big fan of. And I was commenting with another Tracy Anderson user, and she actually shared in that, hey, I've had the same experience, just keep going, you'll get it back. And she had the same experience with her butt kind of losing volume, but then said that it actually came back and looked even better. So it's a marathon, it's not a sprint, and here's why that's a good thing. Quick wins are quickly lost. And if we want something that's actually sustainable, we have to be in it for the long term. I can tell you that extreme diets, extreme workouts, for me, are not sustainable. I know some people love it. It works for them. Great. You do you. For me, it's taken me years and years and years to accept that it's not sustainable. It's not realistic. I have to choose something that is. All right. So be patient. And side note to that, a huge theme in Tracy Anderson is to just keep going. Just keep going. There's going to be times you may doubt yourself. Just keep going and be patient. Tip number 3, do what you can to feel good during the workout. And that's going to be different for everyone. For me, I like to have a cup of coffee before I work out. I also know that if I'm well rested, I'm going to feel better during my workout. I've also realized that having a flattering mirror, yes, a flattering mirror, and if you know what I mean by this, but having a flattering mirror is so important. So with my workout, that's another tip I'll get into, but I recently bought a mirror, and it's what I call a skinny mirror. It definitely makes me look thinner than I do in other mirrors. May sound ridiculous to you. You could also be nodding your head like totally know what you mean, but find those things that make you feel good. So having a flattering mirror, also wearing clothes that are flattering to you. We all know that there's some yoga pants that will make your butt look incredible, and then some that maybe not so much. Choose the one that makes you look incredible because it's only going to encourage you. I also make myself feel good during the workout by doing weird things like putting on perfume, or those days where I'm feeling gross, I'll put on a little makeup. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's all things that I can do to make me feel good during the workout. So I mentioned the mirror. This is a huge tip that has made the world of a difference for me. I actually started by taking a bathroom mirror off the wall and putting it in my workout area and just using that. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. I went to Home Goods and just bought, I think it was a $50 mirror. Turns out it's a skinny mirror, which does not hurt. In other videos, I've even mentioned that I would use my phone camera as a type of mirror in itself, where I would be able to see my reflection as if I'm taking a selfie. All great options to help support you stay engaged in the workout, do it well, and kind of stay entertained in a way. In line with that mirror tip, the next tip is to admire your progress. And I've mentioned this in a few videos before around Tracy Anderson and how important it is to admire your body, because that's what's going to keep you in the game. If you had a model physique tomorrow, how much more fun would it be to work out and look at yourself in the mirror? And I think so many of us have fallen in the habit of assessing and criticizing our reflection because that's what we've done for years. Or there's this kind of idea that if you're hard on yourself, you're actually going to push yourself forward, which in most cases, it isn't the case. Instead, we feel defeated. We want to throw in the towel. So here's what I mean by admiring your progress. If you're new to Tracy Anderson, or again, if you're a veteran or anywhere in between, you'll notice that there's small changes that happen over time. They can be a kind of new line in your shoulder. It can be noticing how long your leg looks on a certain kick. But finding the things that you can appreciate about your body versus the roll that's going to come up, in your midsection from a certain move you do, to really highlight and focus on the positives over those moments, because let's face it, we're not going to have a model physique overnight. It's those small changes that we can see that really help us stay in the game, stay motivated, and see the fruits of our labor. So that's really how a mirror will help you do that, and why it's so important for you to admire your progress, because it's going to keep you going and keep you seeing, wow, this is actually working for me. And wow, even if it's just admiring your neck or your shoulders, find something to admire. And with the variety of moves that you'll be doing, I assure you there's something that's going to allow you to see your figure in a different way. The next tip is related to the accessory muscles. So if you've been introduced to Tracy Anderson and you've watched different videos on YouTube, specifically one where Tracy Anderson's a guest on Dr. Oz, she talks about how her method is so unique because she gets to these accessory muscles, these smaller muscle groups that are often overlooked but are very powerful. And that's the method she has that reduces the chance of bringing bulk with her workouts. Instead, with these defined muscle groups, you can strengthen them, you can still lengthen and lean, but without adding bulk. With that in mind, it is so important in different moves to tune into which exercise affects which accessory muscle group. I will link that Dr. Oz video so you can watch, but she quickly walks through a diagram going over that. I'm also going to link another video where she actually has one of her trainers walk through certain standing ab moves and arm motions for how to best reach those accessory muscle groups. At this point, those are the only videos I found that have really get to that and are probably the most impactful. In that little tutorial, speaking to those muscle movements and to the ab movements, the standing ab movements, the trainer speaks to how important it is to actually pull in your belly button when you're doing those standing abs, and really all the moves. So it's very important that when you're doing Tracy Anderson method, that you're very conscious of your core, really accessing those muscle groups, really staying engaged, really feeling it and being intentional about the workout, not just flopping along in it. Now, in some way, I did touch on this with those top 10 mistakes that you don't want to just exist through the Tracy Anderson method workout. Instead, you want to be very intentional about it. And this tip's a little bit different because we build upon how important it is for you to become familiar with those different accessory muscles. So be sure to watch those other videos that I'll link. And again, when you're doing those movements, really feel it in those deep accessory muscles. The next tip to really help you sustain the Tracy Anderson method is to find something to look forward to within the workout. Now, there are many times where I look forward to the workout specifically for the lengthening feeling, specifically for the kind of meditative state I can get into, specifically for the times where I'm several days into the workout and I'm really catching on and I feel proud of myself and the momentum I'm gaining. Those are all things that I can find to look forward to. And on those days that I'm not really looking to work out, and I have a video on that, it's so helpful to look forward to those small things. It may even be the fact that you get to check out for a little bit, burn off some steam from the workday, listen to your new favorite playlist that you get to work out to. All those little things are really going to help you stay motivated and keep the workout fresh when you have something to look forward to. The next tip, if you're really looking to catapult your results of Tracy Anderson Method, is to eat clean, but also not obsessed about food and not restrict. So this is after I've watched all sorts of videos from Tracy and reviewed some of her blogs. Even though she does have diet plans to really kickstart people into a detox, into weight loss, once that's done, she really talked about the importance of eating clean, but not restricting. And again, this goes back to what's sustainable, what's reasonable. So for me, I have a history of an eating disorder, and just like an alcoholic doesn't go to bars or doesn't drink alcohol or shouldn't drink alcohol, I've learned that diets don't work for me. It really just sets me up to fall into that dark place. Instead, mindful eating has been the best approach for me, really tuning into, am I really hungry? What do I actually feel like? Am I full? Am I satisfied? Those things, but tying that into making good food choices. So I opt for foods that make me feel good. Typically that's clean food, and turns out that also helps the results. So I do not diet, but I choose healthy foods. And I also don't obsess about, oh no, I had chips and salsa. I had margarita, which I love both of those. And I make sure that it's worth it. I make sure that I try not to overdo it. And I don't obsess about food. And with that, it makes a huge difference. So work to eat clean, and also don't obsess about it. Don't make it a huge deal. Make it reasonable, make it sustainable. It's also worth mentioning that life has different seasons, and depending on what you have going on in your life, maybe work is really taking priority, maybe family is taking priority. There's going to be times where maybe fitness and health goes on the back burner a little bit, is not as much as a priority, and that's okay. I've realized that I've been indulging a bit. Like I had that kind of video where I had a little staycation and I felt the effects of it. It's not that big of a deal. I'm in this for the long haul. I know that there's going to be times where I'm fitter or leaner than other times, and I'm okay with that. So we covered the importance of eating clean and not obsessing about food, not totally restricting, which leads us into avoiding black and white thinking. There may be days where you've skipped a workout that you didn't mean to, or you just are not feeling it at all. You feel like you just want to throw in the towel. That's when we really want to avoid that black and white thinking and really look to what's rational, what's really going on, looking for those shades of gray. So maybe it's that you just need a break, maybe just to take a nice day off, but to throw in the towel and to go to that rigid black and white all or nothing is something that can really sabotage us from really reaching our goals. This is when we throw in the towel altogether. The last tip is related to how frequently you should aim to do Tracy Anderson Method. And for the most part, she highly recommends to aim for 60 minutes times 6 times a week. So an hour, 6 times a week. Now, for metamorphosis, that is 30 minutes of muscular structure, 30 minutes of dance cardio. For online studio, you could probably look at that as an hour of muscular structure and that be it, and then maybe add in cardio when you have a chance to. The last tip is to create a plan that's reasonable for you, to decide what's reasonable for me as far as frequency and time commitment each day. I personally like to aim for 6 times a week. That works for me. I also aim to get in at least an hour a day, if not an hour and a half for those days I'm working out. And how that shakes out is an hour of muscular structure, and that's because I'm doing the online studio where the muscular structure portion is longer than metamorphosis, which is just 30 minutes. And then on a majority of the days, I will add in that dance cardio. I'll likely put in a video all together on dance cardio because there's a lot to that. But I found that by adding dance cardio to my workout, it's made the world of a difference. But even if you don't do dance cardio, to make time for some type of cardio because it really just helps drive those results. So decide what's your plan, what's reasonable for you, what's sustainable, because at the end of the day, this is a marathon, it's not a sprint, and you've got to identify, what works best for you. And if you have a week where you fall short, and you fall really, really short, that's okay. Just get back on the saddle. So those are the top 10 tips. Like I said, I'm sure there's many more, and I would love for you to share your tips, because gotta tell you, as much as I look to bring value to you in creating these videos, you all, with each and every comment, help me so, so much. I am so incredibly grateful. It is so fun for me to finally do what I've been dreaming to do for years and years and years, and how rewarding it is. Which is why each subscribe, each like, each comment means so much to me, and even more that I can leverage this to support me in my Tracy Anderson journey. And I hope it supports you too. So thank you so much, and until next time.